A brief message from your friendly neighborhood editing Jordan. This is your content warning. We try to keep things PG-13 around here. However, certain among us have a proclivity towards foul language and foul humor. So viewer discretion is advised. This is your only warning. While we're at it, I should probably note that any opinions stated about a certain tabletop role-playing game are just that, our opinions. We have been longtime fans and players of the game, and so we have a vested interest in how game mechanics work, and as a hobby in our group, we enjoy yelling at each other over rules interpretations. So everything that we say is all in good fun. With that in mind, however, I will still ask, Wizards, please hire us. Well, with that out of the way, enjoy the show.
What if you put a Burger King in the dungeon?
I don't know why, but when you said that, it made me think of the guy who, like, there's the meme of him going, what if I met you at, like, X place,
Yeah.
and I saw
I
you,
looked at you.
and I looked at you, and I said to you, slowly,
Burger
there, baby
King
girl."
Sprite.
Yeah.
Didn't we talk about there being a Denny's the last time we did a dungeon video?
I don't know.
I feel like this is an accidental callback.
I would never, because I don't like Denny's.
It was either a Denny's or it was some kind of breakfast
A
establishment.
Waffle House.
I might have been a
No,
Waffle
you're
House.
saying
hard.
that, Jordan, and something's hitting me in my memory zone. I'm thinking of something with a Waffle House.
I didn't get one of
Something
those.
happened with a Waffle House.
I have the oldest Xbox. I didn't get a memory zone.
I think it was like we were talking about world building or setting or something, and Pertuset brought up like bringing in things that are like real world equivalents but with a twist, because he's done that a couple times.
I do like doing
And
that.
I think maybe he brought up the idea of like put your characters in a Waffle House. Maybe
That's a dungeon all to itself.
That's not a dungeon, man. That's paradise. You get in, you get out, and you're well fed by the end of it for a cheap price.
But that's assuming you can get
Paradise.
out. Like, if you
Maybe
can't escape the Waffle
unreachable for
House.
me.
Why would you ever want to leave?
See, that's the problem.
That's not the problem.
Brainwash
That's
you,
the
man.
solution.
Whatever lives in the kitchen, it's not good.
The Waffle House should be your end goal. Like, that's where you should be at the end of it all.
Life is like a Waffle House.
Yes. You never know what you're going to get.
So you
Waffles,
waffle.
hopefully.
They also have
The
hash
entity that
browns.
lives in the kitchen.
Me going to the Waffle House to order pancakes because I am evil.
Do they even serve those? They
No.
don't serve those. Yeah.
I was gonna say, conversely, if you order waffles at IHOP, do they just take you out back and shoot you?
IHOP has
No,
no
I-
leg to stand on. They tried to name themselves IHOB for a while.
True,
Yes,
and
they
I
did.
was gonna say I feel like it's the reverse, where like IHOP's gonna be like, no, we don't do that. Waffle House will take you out back and shoot you for trying to
Yes.
order pancakes at Waffle House.
Yes. Hey everybody, welcome to the Nat One Podcast, aka Nope, because nope, you're not gonna want to hear what we're about to have to say. I'm Pertuset.
I'm Levi.
And I'm Jordan. This is
Anyway,
not what the episode is about.
if you
Well,
couldn't
kind of a
tell, we're
little
gonna talk
bit.
about
It's-
dungeons. If you couldn't tell, it's on you.
No, now I'm thinking, did we do a Dungeons episode?
I don't know.
We
I
did.
don't know.
We
We
did
did
some
Dragons
kind of-
episode and then a Dungeons.
That's what I'm
episode, 'cause we feel
thinking.
Like it's Dungeons and
because we did
Dragons.
Dungeons and we did Dungeons, Dragons, and introductions
Yeah.
for our
Oh, that's
second year.
right. Well, this is our third year now, so we've done more
fourth
and
year.
things, and we have a more audience now, so we
What
can
do you
talk
call
about it
that?
again.
The statute of limitations has elapsed
Yeah,
on
the
it.
True. If we can't remember talking about it, it's fair game for a new episode.
Precisely, exactly. So
Emphasis on we, because if it was me, this would be a very sad channel that's kind of like a testament to like dementia.
it would just be the
same
what was
three
the episode?
episodes.
It would be the that one where you were rambling for an hour.
Oh, the Eternal
Yeah.
Sunshine
The
of
Eternal
Pertuset's
Sunshine
Mind.
of Pertuset's Mind.
I need to
every
go back
week.
and watch that. I don't remember anything from it.
We need to
Okay.
do another one of those.
But yeah,
Well,
we're gonna talk about dungeons and our experience with them, since all of us have some kind of experience with them, whether that's making them or playing in them or
Mhm.
running ones that are pre-made. that we didn't necessarily make but got to experience. I'm gonna kill. Sorry, I just got pinged on Discord and it made me very upset.
You gotta mute that thing, man.
They do it the second I come online. I come online to do the podcast,
You
and
gotta
they
go
see that I'm
invisible.
on
You
there.
gotta
and they're
go
like, "Grab it."
invisible.
I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it right now.
Anyway, well, I'm gonna go first. I don't necessarily want to talk about my experience with the dungeons, not a whole lot. I want to talk about my ideas for the future of dungeons. Because
Okay.
they suck. Except they don't, but they do. So, right now, with one of my other groups, my only other group really,
Oh,
uh,
true.
I'm running Castle Ravenloft. Really interesting. We with that same group, I think we spent probably 10, no, probably 12 sessions in the Amber Temple alone, if not more than 12 sessions. It was a very long span of time in real life, and I hated it. I hated it so much, but I couldn't fault them for it because the reason it took so long is they were being super careful, and every time they were like, I throw a stick into the room, I was like, okay, you throw a stick in the room, and it gets turned to dust immediately. Good luck. Now you gotta find a way through that room. That was the Amber Temple experience. Spoilers for Curse of Strahd if you haven't already. That's over 10 years old now. Way over 10 if you can consider the original.
Significantly
Oh
over
yeah.
10.
No, yeah. Yeah, it's
But
very
even the
old.
5e. Anyway,
Yeah, no. I think that because trust me, also what was it, like half a year before you ran Curse of Strahd, I ran Curse of Strahd.
mm,
So I also got to, unfortunately for me, I didn't get to experience any of Castle Ravenloft itself, actually, because my players decided they weren't going to go there until the very end. So they did everything else in Barovia and then just beelined straight for Strahd and killed him without
mm,
exploring the castle at all.
Oops.
But I did get to experience the Amber Temple. And I think that it is partially a problem that is inherent to 5e. Especially because Curse of Strahd, if I remember correctly, originally that is it a 3e or is it an even earlier than that
I want to
sure.
say
originally?
it's a 3.
But back in the older systems, which this is one of those things that, the oldies get on people who like 5e and even 3 and later sometimes, honestly. They get on those systems for being like too long rest heavy, too like they don't incentivize. They don't give you like good resource economy, those kinds of things to use well all the time. It's basically like do an encounter or two, then long rest. That's your cycle. Whereas these dungeons, even into 5e, have continued to be built with the ethos of use your short rests, use all your resources, use this, that, and the other, but be smart about it and do it when you should. When I feel like a lot of people's grasp on 5e is like do one encounter or two, then we long rest. Which personally, I have been trying to change my own perceptions about that because I know I've been very guilty of that for a long time. And recently I've been experimenting with you all and forcing you into situations because of it. But yeah, no, I've been watching some videos and I've been like, man, maybe I should test the resource economy a little bit more. Maybe I should put some more leverage on that and see maybe it's not as bad in 5e as people say it is. Um, but that's not something I have experienced with dungeons in the past. Um, because circling all the way back around to the beginning, when I ran the Amber Temple has encounters in it that like literally reset if they take a short rest.
That's just
There
mean.
are encounters in the Amber Temple that are like, yeah, also after an hour this encounter comes back.
Yep.
So if they rest, it might not be exactly an hour. It might be like you roll a D10 or something, and then after that many hours it comes back. But that means there is still a chance that like it could be 1 hour if they take a short rest. So there's basically like no reason to take a short rest. Um, so yeah, no. There are problems with the system. There
Relatively valid points. But even if you short rest for Amber Temple, it don't matter for that reason, as well as the things that don't come back also are just like, yeah, it deals like 50 damage. And that's like, wow, that probably hurt. Until you remember that can be encountered anywhere from like level 5 or even probably even like level 3 to level 9.
Yep.
At which point it will likely one-shot many characters.
Yes. Yes, it
So
will.
Amber Temple wasn't a great time. However, Castle Ravenloft is strange to me. Now, admittedly, I'm choosing to play it in a weird way, but let me explain myself. So, in the book, and this is all relevant for my position on dungeons, I swear. But in the book, it says every single room that doesn't already have enemies in it, you roll on a table and see if there's enemies and what enemies. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Firstly, because that's gonna take forever. Do you know how many rooms there
Yeah.
are in Castle Ravenloft? There's
my
over
goodness.
80
It's
rooms
such a big
Oh
in
my
dungeon.
Castle
God.
Ravenloft.
It's a huge dungeon. Beautiful dungeon, but it's huge.
Yeah, and okay, so that was my first reaction. Is like I don't want to do that because that's gonna take so much time for me. Secondly, it's gonna take so much time for the players because if I do hit that spot every time they go through it, because if I remember, it's not supposed to be once the room's cleared, you don't have to do it again. It's any time they enter a room
Yeah.
that doesn't have anything in it.
It's supposed to be like chock full of enemies all the time. I
Mhm.
also did not run. Even though my characters explored vastly less than yours did, I also did not run with that rule.
Yeah, but like I don't. Putting all that aside, I'm also choosing to run Strahd more like the Netflix Castlevania Dracula. So he don't got no creeps in his castle because he's like, I just want them to kill me.
Mhm.
Spoilers for both series, but oh well. Um,
I've actually pulled it up in the back just so that we can have some context. Yes, random
mm,
encounters the first time the characters enter a castle area that isn't otherwise occupied.
yeah,
Check for a random encounter.
yep. That's too much.
Also, check for a random encounter every 10 minutes the characters spend resting in the castle.
I didn't even know that one.
That's so bogus.
That's too much. I get it that you will never finish that castle. You'll never
No,
get out of there.
you'll die there.
It's not even that you'll
That's
die there. You just won't get out.
literally 6. If they try to short rest in the castle, that is 6 random encounters.
Mhm.
Oh my God.
It is impossible to short rest in the castle unless you have like a tiny hut.
I get it because it's really funny because I know there's other things in the castle that are like when the players attempt to leave, these things spawn and attack them.
Yes.
There's like 2 things right at the entrance that do that, which is really funny.
Mm-hmm.
I get it, but it's like I don't care because there's a big issue I've noticed, or at least I think, with the Curse of Strahd 5e adventure. I know a lot of people love it, and I don't not love it. But one thing I think that's an issue is they sort of conflate difficulty with horror, and I don't like that. There's often times where they're like, because there's so many monsters, that means it's scary. No, we've been over this before when we talked about horror in D&D. More often than not, any attempts at horror are very easy to come across instead as frustrating for the players instead of frightening. This is one such example. So I chose not to mess with that, but as a result, the castle feels like nothing. My players have gone through like I'm gonna wager 25 rooms and have fought 2 zombies and 2 swarms of rats,
Mm-hmm.
which they easily dispatch because they're level 9. It's felt like nothing. It's felt like a breeze, no challenge, and I don't know what to do to ameliorate it at this point. But I'm just gonna let it ride because, maybe something's gonna happen. They just encountered the heart, so like, spoilers again, but like, they might take fall damage. That'll be funny.
I would say perhaps a happy medium could be found where you determine X amount of rooms are going to have random encounters in them. And then when they enter those rooms, it could be rolled. But certainly not every room in the castle.
That seems excessive.
Mhm. Yeah, there's got to be something there, but I don't
If
want to work
even
on
half.
it. Mm,
That's 40 encounters.
yeah,
Jesus.
the whole
44 to be
reason,
precise, if you're doing exactly half the rooms.
the entire reason I chose to do a pre-written adventure for this group was, well, I guess not the entire reason, but like definitely 80 to somewhere between 70 and 90% of the reason was I don't want to have to think and work on this. I just want to show up, read my book, and start the game.
Exactly.
Homebrew is so much more different, so much more effort.
I have special people that homebrew is reserved for.
Mm.
Only they get to have it. Only they're
Yeah.
worthy of it.
No, I did do the homebrew for them too, but doing 2 homebrew at once was too much.
Mhm.
Yeah, you actually learned from experience. I did.
Mhm.
My other group didn't last long enough for me to get to do too much homebrew at the same time with them. So
So does that mean that it's free game for us to like kill their characters?
those ones, yeah, probably.
Cool.
Cool.
I don't see why you would want to, but
For fun.
I love killing things.
We know Mr.
Yeah.
Worldender.
I suppose that's a good enough reason. I suppose.
We gotta get the murder hobo out of our systems, and then we won't be killing any NPCs of consequence.
Mhm.
Note
Well, you
the
know
of
how I
consequence.
Yeah, no, you know how I work. If someone abandons a PC, they become an NPC of
I know.
consequence. They be
In any case, I had to air out my frustrations on
yeah.
the dungeon design of chalking it full of monsters. I get it. But like, okay, I don't want to rag fully on dungeons because I do think it would suck to have no dungeons. That's one thing I will admit.
And I do think also there's just a difference in game style because I do think there's very much been a shift whether you like it or not. I prefer it. I do also think this is mostly the fault of Critical Role. There's been much more of a shift towards milestone play
Yeah,
style for
definitely.
D&D. Whereas if you're playing XP, you want the dungeon full of
Yeah,
enemies.
yeah,
The
yeah, yeah,
purpose
yeah.
of dungeons
want-
has changed,
Yeah,
definitely.
dungeons are how you get level ups if you're
Mhm.
playing XP. But again, modern perceptions of 5e, I feel like probably going back to Pertuset's vast majority of the reason, the vast majority of people who play 5e probably play Milestone because it's been perceived popularly as much more of a sort of storytelling version of the game rather than a numbers get XP level up version of the game like some of the older versions were.
Which is what we continue to see the shift from its original war game origins to more of a collaborative story. Not that stories haven't always been a part of D&D, but I mean, we all know the initial edition of D&D was Chainmail, which was a war game.
Yep.
And it stayed kind of a war game for quite a long time until we started developing more into the character-driven and plot-driven stories as opposed to just kill a bunch of stuff.
And it
Mhm.
certainly was moving in that direction for a while, but I think that obviously third edition was really where that took off because third edition's where the game kind of exploded into being the most popular TTRPG, and now TTRPGs in general are just really popular, so now it's just a really popular game. But
Yeah. One such thing that I do want to note that I thought about, because at first I was like, oh, just never run dungeons because they're lame and boring and no one likes them. And then I was like, well, let me think about it. And the first thing that came to mind is I thought about Critical Role's third actual like Matthew Mercer campaign.
mhm.
And I thought about, I didn't watch a whole lot of that, but I watched like 20 episodes, maybe 30. And I remember there's a part early on where they're tasked with competing against another adventuring party by going into like a museum filled with artifacts and traps to see if they can get a famed artifact at the bottom of it or somewhere hidden in it.
Mhm.
And it was hilarious. It was really funny. And I was like, that's the purpose of the dungeons now. That's your moments and that's your
Yeah.
time dilation.
Give it a gimmick.
Mm.
Give it a reason. Give it a MacGuffin for being there.
That even aside, that's just when your funny moments happen as a party, right?
Mhm.
Like you might be doing stuff on the road and things, but the funny stuff really happens in the dungeons because like you'll be posed with a puzzle of sorts, and someone's gonna say something really stupid, but no one's gonna think it's stupid, and then it's gonna happen, and then something really stupid's gonna happen, and everyone's gonna be laughing about it. But then on a dime, it can change because then it's like after the stupid thing happens, then a giant monster appears. Now you have to
Underwear
fight the
mortal
giant
peril.
monster. Yeah, exactly. And it's fun. It's fun. It's funny. And the other thing that I think cannot go understated is the time dilation aspect. Without dungeons, time in D&D can go very quickly depending on your
Very quickly.
pacing. Because if you do the old-fashioned one encounter a day style, days are flying by. If you do dungeons, it's the inverse. You will have one day in a game last several months real world time, or at least weeks. Uh, and that I understand how that can get confusing as well, but it makes it to where you can slow down your pacing. It helps. It's a pacing tool. You can
Very much.
weave in and out. That being said, I'm never using a dungeon. No, I'm kidding.
That actually brings me to a point that I wanted to make because I'm using a dungeon to train new players right now.
Yeah.
Because I have a group that is not associated with our group. They're friends that I have online that I'm running a Discord game for them. And this is the first time, well, I've DM'd a one shot or two again for friends outside of our group, but this is the first time that I've tried to run a campaign. And so only one of my players is like a seasoned D&D player, and then one is completely new, and then the other has only played a couple times. So I'm using a dungeon to basically train them how to play D&D.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're getting used to some of the mechanics and also some of the character building. Because, like you were saying, you get a lot of good moments when you're trapped in a room together. And so they're getting to figure out their characters a little bit and their party dynamic before I unleash them on the world.
Oh my gosh. We found it.
What?
Oh.
It's the D&D bottle episode.
Oh my god.
It is.
It makes perfect
Oh.
sense.
They've been in a bottle episode for a month and a half.
Yes. Then we'll cut the commercial break.
And we're talking about all this stuff about like how it can be good for time dilation and for pacing. And yeah, that I think that's very
Yeah.
that's very topical that you say that, Pertuset. I mean,
Why's that?
because it's almost like there have been several instances in the campaign I'm currently running where I was gonna put you guys in dungeons and then you skip past it, thus resulting in several months of in-game time passing rapidly.
Name one time that's happened.
You're talking about Legend of Zelda, aren't you?
I can't think of one time we've done that.
You guys have skipped 2 dungeons.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Ocarina of Time. That's the one.
I didn't realize we'd skipped 2. Wait, where were the dungeons, Levi?
One was at the beginning of the game.
I know
And
that
the
one.
other, it kind of technically wasn't, well, it was skipped, but it was like very briefly touched, which was the place Caiaphas went into and got in big no trouble for going into
It was cold
by
in there.
himself. That was
job,
also going to be a dungeon. Caiaphas only went to the first floor of that dungeon.
It's cold in there. man.
Oops.
So
He had to get the thing.
I am about to try again.
Don't tell us that. We're going to skip it a third
And this time, I don't think you can get out of it.
That's what you think.
Dude, I had a really funny idea, but I won't bring it up here.
You
I wanna
would
know. I want to know the
not.
really funny idea.
I can talk about it later. Yeah.
So that's also an option. Plan to run dungeons, and then your players are just too accidentally stubborn to go in them.
Yes.
Well,
And one of those dungeons, because of story reasons, doesn't exist anymore now. So you're never gonna get to run it.
the first
Ruh-roh.
one. I think that is a hallmark of a good dungeon, though, and I understand to a point how some people may think otherwise, but I think the one essential part of a good dungeon is that there are many answers, right? There are many solutions to it. One or some such solutions can be never going in.
Yep.
That's how you beat the Tomb of Horrors. But
True. The only way to win.
so yeah, I don't know. I think it's crucial to have the option for several different avenues for success regarding dungeons.
Yeah, you saying that actually made me think about when we ran Tomb of Annihilation.
Yeah.
In our first group campaign, well, not we say this every time, not technically not the first one, but the first real one, the first one we actually ran in a system. I, as we've mentioned before, I like to insert written stuff into my homebrew from time to time, just because, like Pertuset said, sometimes when you've been running a campaign for like 2 to 3 years, you're like, man, I just don't want to do another one right now. I've got other stuff. Maybe I can, but also it's a fun creative exercise because then, you sort of tweak the story to fit into your own homebrew world so that it doesn't clash with all your lore and everything. And I really enjoy doing it because it allows me to insert stuff that is from like Faerun and Greyhawk and Dragonlance and those kind of places into my world and have little samples of them, but also fit them into my lore at the same time and help expand upon it in that way. But I had them run Tomb of Annihilation, which isn't actually called Tomb of Annihilation. It's called the Tomb of the Nine Gods, is the name of the dungeon in Tomb of Annihilation. And they skipped 2 floors in Tomb of Annihilation. Actually, wait, no, you guys skipped 3 floors.
It was a good bit.
Technically, you had to go to one of the 3 floors, but basically they went in, and if any of you DMs out there who have run Tomb of Annihilation knows, there's basically just a stairway in the middle of the dungeon that goes straight down. And there's all the hallways that branch off to like all the fun little rooms and stuff with all their little traps and treasures and all those. The party doesn't have to do that. They can just go straight down. They can just go down to the bottom of the staircase, and down there are these gargoyles, and if you complete the gargoyle puzzle, it opens up to like the 2 bottom levels of the dungeon, and then they just got to go do that, and they can fight a Sirak at the end and leave. Spoilers, the boss of the dungeon is a Sirak. But that's what they did. They went in, they explored a little bit of the first floor for like 5 minutes, decided they didn't like it, went straight down to the gargoyles. If I remember correctly,
people lost their armor.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I think you guys brute forced the gargoyle puzzle.
That sounds right. That sounds
I don't
like
remember
us.
what happened with it.
And then they got through. They went down into the chamber that has the hag coven in it with their 4 little funny puzzles.
I do remember that.
They did the 4 little funny puzzles. I said a funny thing about an ice cake that was
Say,
completely
what was
off the
line
cuff.
with the ice
It was
cake?
words bespake, you ate the ice cake. Pertuset thought it was so funny that he thought it was something that was written in the adventure.
It's true, I
It was really
did.
funny.
And I was like, no, I just made that up, man.
Merch idea?
I'll put it on a t-shirt, bet.
They killed the witches, and then they went into the Asirak fight. They
And
did
cage match to Sirak.
Yes, they did. They did Tomb of the Nine Gods and did it in 3 encounters. If I remember correctly, you fought one of the gargoyles because you didn't do his puzzle correctly, so you had to fight him. And then you fought the witches, and then you fought a Sirak, and that was it. That was the dungeon.
We were also remarkably high level. We should include
You
that as a
were,
fact.
you
I don't know
were.
what the level is you're supposed to do Tomb of Annihilation at, but I think we were like level 17 at that point.
Yeah, it was closer to the end of the campaign at that point. Let me see. I don't remember what level.
I was
you
going
are
to say,
supposed to run
if that's
Tomb of
the
Annihilation
case, it says a lot about us that we almost lost the final encounter.
at. Sirak is super strong, so I wouldn't be.
Well, we were down a party member, and then another party member was not wearing clothing.
We
I may
still
have-
had above
I may
average, a
have-
higher party group.
Yeah, I may have also buffed it because you guys were level 17, which I probably did.
Baby.
Yes, it says by the end you should be 9th level or higher.
We were higher. We
were,
were
yeah.
higher. We fit
We're
that.
higher.
It's like Legos, man.
Oh, no, okay. Oh, no, yeah, no, that's correct. You can start the adventure at 9th level, it says. In which case it tells you to not do XP advancement until you get to the tomb. But yeah, no, you more than likely, even with that, you probably wouldn't normally get to level 17 if you did everything before getting to a Sirak. If you started at level 9,
Everything.
you might get to like 15 or 16, maybe. Actually, honestly, maybe not even 16, maybe like 14 or 15. I haven't calculated everything that's in there, but they didn't. They just went straight to the bottom.
Yeah.
And
There was
that
no
it.
reason not to.
Yeah, that was their solution. It worked. They did their objective that they came there to do.
Mm-hmm. And the first room we went to involved one of our party members being attacked by a salad. So we were like, I bet you this is every
Forgot
single
about
room.
that.
And so we were like, then let's not go to any other rooms.
True.
That was the simple thought process.
My party is a very single-minded group. When
it stops paying off, we'll start thinking multidimensionally.
Yep.
But for now,
we're real dumb until it's time to play 4D chess.
it's the meme. It's the I am never punished.
Yeah, yeah.
I risk it all. I am never punished. I risk it all.
But yeah. So we've talked about what? Kia? I do ibuprofen. We've talked about making dungeons. We've talked about running pre-made dungeons. But what about the secret third option?
IKEA.
Having someone else make it for you.
Oh, dear God.
There are those websites that do it for you.
True.
I'm not talking about that.
No, we're talking... This only works if you have your own Terran.
That is the secret third option, which I want to bring up to the audience because I think it's a good creative exercise.
We still haven't even encountered it. I'm waiting for us to find a way to blow it up or ignore it.
I think it's a good creative exercise, which is because we're all about, including your players and the making of the lore and the world and all of that. So what I have employed one of my players with is make me a dungeon. One of their previous characters, a wizard who went to level 20, made this dungeon. That was a thing that they did. And so now that dungeon exists in the world. Only he and I have knowledge of what the rooms are. And basically, I've just allowed him to make everything in there. And if I don't like it, I veto it and say, no, you can't do that. Make something else. And so this is the enigmatic Terran, who's been on the podcast a couple times. He's a funny little character, not in like the funny haha way.
He'll be in a video this Friday.
You couldn't. He made like a little smile. You couldn't see it when he did, but he like smiled at you guys. But yes, so I think that's an interesting way of going about it because I'm gonna be honest with you guys at this point. I don't remember much of what's in it, so it's kind of like we're all going in blind.
That's not comforting.
When we
Levi, that is not comforting.
Fun as that is to share, and as much as I know you guys love it, realistically, that's not going to happen in most groups.
But the option is there, and perhaps it's something that more people should do.
Yeah, get your own Terran.
Not get your own Terran. I'm being actually for real right now.
Merch? Terran plush?
It is an interesting sort of dynamic to have between player and DM to do that. There is the forever problem of one player is going to have meta knowledge and how to circumvent that, which I have something in mind, but that's just, if you're loading off all the work of making the dungeon onto one player, you got to have some responsibility, which is figure out how they don't know. That's your job in this situation.
Gonna say that is one of two parts as to why it's unrealistic. One, the player has the knowledge, and two, more often than not, people probably don't have lore where a person has the ability to retroactively create a dungeon for their now party to create and
have to be part of the world building.
That's true, but then you still have the first problem.
Can I also submit a dungeon that we go through?
Yeah, let's all just make dungeons.
Can we all just make every character from Vivia 2 made a dungeon at some point?
Sure.
Not Vivia 2. Let's make them now.
Okay.
Who said anything about our characters? Pertuset's making a dungeon.
Just a demented Chuck E. Cheese.
I'm gonna make the death pit. You go in it and you die. Also, you need to go in there for story reasons.
Underworld campaign, let's go.
This just reminds me of that one homebrew item I made.
The
Oh,
one
yeah.
that kills you if you look at it?
one
The
that
one-
Yeah,
kills
the
you if you
cognito
find it.
hazard. The
Yeah,
cognito
the-
hazard, yeah. If you know about it, it kills your character.
So wait, if it reminds you of that, are you saying this dungeon is intentionally designed for Terran to kill Terran?
Not Terran, just any looky-loos.
Oh, okay.
In any case. No, I think IKEA. That's where I'm at with it.
Those are you're gonna make an IKEA dungeon?
IKEA would be a good basis for a dungeon.
Well, here's one thing as well that I think is a valuable aspect of dungeons that it gets underutilized. There are so many spells nobody takes because everybody prepares for combat and only combat.
Yep.
It is what it
Yes.
is. It is how it is. So, like, remember that one time that we used the spell Arcane Eye to go through like an entire dungeon and know where everything was?
Yes, it was
It's a
extremely
really
useful.
good use of a spell.
Exactly. I want to create a dungeon that is no combat at all whatsoever,
Mhm.
but is insanely resource intensive. You have to use spells to progress through the dungeon. There is no way out of the dungeon except by using your resources.
What if your entire party is martial?
Exactly. I'd probably base it around using your HP then.
Oh, that's terrifying. and I
Open this
love-
door by sacrificing 10 HP.
That's
Feed the blood
actually
god.
sick. Please keep that idea for Zeal.
That is something that a martial could do that a wizard or sorcerer would be less likely to want to do. A cleric
True.
could also make good use of it by being like, I will simply hurt myself and then cast Cure Wounds.
Yeah.
Or a druid too, being like, I will turn into an octopus and then hurt myself. But I want to make something funny like that. Something that uses a lot of resources, or otherwise you can't. But I also want to make it in such a way where you're like trapped in there. So if like you come to a room and it's like you need to cast, I don't know, knock to progress through here for some reason. And there's a wizard who can have knock, but they're like, I didn't prepare it. I just got 15 fireballs. Then it's like, well, go back to the restroom,
Yep.
take a long rest. Start again tomorrow. You're still in the dungeon. I think that'd be really funny and awesome.
That would also be a good way of going back to what we were talking about with time. I was gonna say manipulation.
That works too.
But well, what I'm getting at is give them a time limit. Have there be something that's going on outside of this dungeon that they're trapped in, so that if they're not making good utility decisions every
True.
day that they're going through it, that timer's ticking down. And they've
Mhm.
got a problem that's waiting on the outside. So that gets their brain rack and that gets them thinking, what am I going to need? What's going to be useful in this situation after this long rest that will help us get out of here as fast as possible?
Dude, can you imagine making it to where it's like one room is like you need to cast 3 utility spells: detect magic, detect good and evil, and then I don't know, detect poison to get through the room. And the wizard's like, okay, I bet the next room after that's also gonna be detect. So I'm just gonna load up on all these utility spells, and the next room is fight 2 golems. And it's like, oh no. Oh,
No,
there's so
it
much
should be something
potential.
that's like super easy to beat, but only with like 1 damage type or something. Like, what is it that oh god, if you just cast blight on a plant creature, it'll basically like instantly kill it. So
Yeah, it
like,
takes like a ton of necrotic damage, I think.
just put 2 shambling mounds in there. Just
Mhm. 2 awakened shrubs, even worse. Awakened shrubs that are immune to everything but necrotic.
yeah.
What if it's just like 14 abyssal chickens?
No, I'm not using those. Terran likes them too much.
Yep.
It's because they're just goofy little guys.
If he had a more respectable liking for them, I would include them more, but it's on line of obsession. If not cross that line.
Oh.
In any case, I also do like Levi's timer idea, but instead of it being like, oh my gosh, we got to get out of here to do the thing we need to do, I'd like it instead if it's like the rules of the dungeon are like, every day that you're here, you're going to lose 1 max HP.
Oh.
That's
That's
terrifying.
nasty. Honestly, that instead of being some invisible time limit, that hurts them directly and induces fear and panic.
Yeah.
So that's really good. Yeah, because it's an active ticker that you constantly have to watch go
Wait.
down.
Okay, I gotta say this one because this is like my best idea ever. Giant room filled with water. On the other side, you can just barely make out what looks like a door. We need water walk. Okay, let me see. I don't have it. Oh, of course you don't have water walk. I guess we gotta take a rest. Next day happens. Okay, let's cast water walk. Walk across. Door was painted on. And it says look down. Door is beneath underwater. Okay, now we need water breathing.
Water
Okay,
breathing.
now and you could loop this for however long you want.
You're just doing this to get
Oh.
back into the water breathing bit.
Mhm. Yes, but it'd be really funny.
Oh man. It's just a series of doors with arrows painted on them that say look
Yes.
in X direction.
Yes.
And then it just leads you back to the beginning of the room and it says made you look.
Yes. You fell for it.
Yeah. And then a trap door opens underneath them and they fall. And then
Oh, I love dungeon stuff. There's lots of potential for dungeon stuff. It's just
you just have to be a little bit more creative than the basic sort of operating system
I
that
like
is given to you
puzzles.
in 5e.
I was gonna say, I feel like just summoning a bunch of monsters is a crutch too many people rely on for dungeons. I get it, but like, it's not that exciting, really. When you play it, it's never that exciting.
Certainly is what Curse of Strahd relies on.
hmm
I'm
I
a
mean,
big
look,
proponent of
even
puzzles and
in
dumb puzzles,
Ravenloft in
too.
general, there's always the chance of having a random encounter at like all times while you're traveling.
With just a
Because
ton of
it's
monsters.
scary.
It's frightening.
It's scary. It's spooky. Aren't you so scared?
It's dark. It's scary.
It's dark. It's scary. But yeah, I was trying to look and see if there was anything similar to that in the Tomb of the Nine Gods as well, since that's something else that we've done. But I don't think there is. I think it's just instead of having random encounters, they just have like every room has something in it. So it's already kitted out and ready to go.
Yeah, like salad.
Yeah, like salad. What is the salad? I don't remember what the salad was.
I don't either.
It was the death salad.
The slod. The death slod. Okay.
Uh-huh. Okay,
Potato,
that makes
potato.
more sense.
I thought it was like some
I thought it was a
kind of
plant
plant
creature.
creature.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was just the name. All right. That is.
Found like
I also
it seems
thought
like I just found my
briefly you
new
were
puzzle.
talking about Saladin. Like, yeah.
New puzzle for a dungeon acquired.
Yeah.
You must fight the death salad.
All right.
I have to tell you guys about the puzzle that I implemented into my dungeon, though, because I really like puzzles, and I like puzzles with dumb answers because I think they're really funny and also challenging. I made something called the Scooby-Doo corridor,
Okay.
where it was a hallway, and it had 5 identical doors on each side, and it was like a wood door with like a brass knob and a lock. And you opened the door, and it opened to another random door on the other side of the hallway. And so then Scooby-Doo shenanigans ensued. The solution to the puzzle was they just had to pick one of the locks or unlock the door, and it led to the next room.
Ah.
But it took them hours to figure it out. It was hilarious.
Was there a hint?
The fact that the doors had locks on them.
I mean,
All
honestly,
right.
if you see a lock and you don't try to pick it, what kind of.
I mean,
Well,
yeah, they didn't try to
are
pick it.
any
They
of
just
them
tried to open
rogues?
it. No, but I did have a bard.
It's like 50% of a rogue.
Yeah.
Ends up being more rogue than rogue.
It's the good parts of
Wait,
the
no,
rogue.
I lied.
Yeah,
One
it's
of them
the-
is a rogue. I lied.
Oh, well, there you
I have a
go.
rogue
There
and a
you go.
bard.
They're not fulfilling their duty of trying to pick every lock in sight.
True. If you're a rogue, as soon as you get into a dungeon, you got to go into 2 mindsets. I'm the lock picker. I'm the trap detector.
Yep.
I'm the.
Gotta check
I don't
the
know how
walls,
the
gotta
rest
check
of
the
that song
floor.
goes.
Hey, he wasn't a rogue. He was out of his zone when he was doing that. He was out
But
of
he
line.
was so good at it.
He was out of line, but he was right. But he was out of line.
That's right.
Darn right.
Actually, he wasn't. He skipped the one wall that was the one he needed to look at.
Goes to show.
He's too smart. You make big brain too hard.
But yeah. That's any other dungeon delving experiences?
Oh, I mean, you can always, you got to have a boss. I mean, I guess you don't have to. Some dungeons
to have a
you don't
boss.
have to, but it's pretty fun to have a dungeon boss, I think, generally.
Tomb of Horrors didn't really have a boss.
I think Tomb of Horrors, if anybody made it out alive, you win.
It's like the inverse of the friends we made along the way. Tomb of Horror's boss is the pain you incur
Yeah, the
along the way.
pain you incur along the way. Yeah, no, it's
Um,
not. Tomb of Horrors is just bad.
mm. I'm always a fan of alternative combat objectives. I think they're very funny. Instead of it just being you reduce HP to 0, I like it to be funnier. Like, what if the dungeons thing was not you have to get to bottom of dungeon and get thing out of dungeon, or otherwise clear out dungeon, but instead it's like, I don't know, you gotta light 5 beacons while there's a water pouring ghost chasing you.
If you say so.
Yeah,
Old monster.
that's all I really got. I like alternative objectives. I think they're funny. Do it in this much time or you explode. Saw trap style.
The door's just
Saw
not budging.
dungeon.
Oh no.
It's gross.
Please do not start
really
taking
scary.
inspiration from Saw movies.
It's gross, which means we have to have a random encounter in every single room because that
Yes.
will emphasize the grossness.
It's
of
just the
also
Saw
dungeon.
puppet.
Generally, it probably wouldn't be that bad in like an adventure setting because like half of his traps don't work on people wearing plate mail.
What if you did the reverse
Saw,
bear
but no
trap on
one's
the
allowed to
plate
be
mail?
Marshall.
I don't know. I don't know what would happen.
Saw, but
what's
no
the-
clerics, paladins, or fighters.
What's the angel one with the rib cage? I feel like that, like if you put that in someone's armor, it'd get real nasty real quick.
Maybe. I prefer the real life one that happened where if you just put an explosive on somebody's chest, it like concaves your lungs and heart in. Thanks, Wendigoon.
What?
Hey, we hope you enjoyed the episode you just listened to. If you really like our content, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications on YouTube, and look for us on Spotify. If you'd like to see us continuing to do more fun projects in the future, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can find our page linked in the description above all of our other social media links. And finally, if you'd like to keep up with the zany shenanigans of our lives and check out some more skit-based content and things like that, check us out on Twitter and TikTok, links in the description. And hey, thanks!